Welcome to Maine Public News Connect, original news stories from Maine Public Radio, airing weekly in Spanish, French, Portuguese, Somali, and English. I'm your host, Ari Snider. Today is Friday, August 25th, and here are the week's top stories. Portland moved about 60 asylum seeker families to hotels in Lewiston and Freeport last week after closing a temporary emergency shelter at the Expo building. Meliana Manuel, a nurse from Angola, and her 14-year-old daughter were among those moving into the Ramada Inn in Lewiston. Manuel said living at the Expo was difficult and believed living in a hotel would be easier and more comfortable. Other families expressed similar views. Portland plans to house families at the Lewiston Hotel for a few months. The city has contracted with the hotel in Freeport to house around 40 families for up to a year. Both hotels are being paid for through Portland's General Assistance Program, at an estimated cost to the city of about $500,000. The federal government last week extended temporary protected status for certain immigrants from Ukraine and Sudan, citing armed conflict in both countries that prevent people from safely returning. TPS allows eligible immigrants to live and work in the U.S. for a certain period of time, but does not provide a pathway to citizenship. The Department of Homeland Security estimates that nearly 3,000 Sudanese individuals and as many as 160,000 Ukrainians may be newly eligible to apply for TPS. Violence erupted earlier this year in Sudan between the government and a rival paramilitary group. Ukraine was plunged into war last year when Russia invaded the country. Maine will receive nearly $6 million to address lead paint hazards in the homes of low-income families. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development announced the grant last week. The agency said the work will address lead and health hazards in 241 housing units and will also include assessments in another 200 homes. State data from earlier this year found that rates of childhood lead poisoning had fallen by close to 50% between 2010 and 2020. 4 years ago, the legislature passed a law requiring lead testing for all 1- and 2-year-olds. After taking a slight dip this summer, COVID hospitalizations in Maine are rising again, though they remain below levels seen in early June. As of earlier this week, the Maine CDC reported 40 patients in the hospital with COVID. At the beginning of June, hospitalizations were in the upper 40s and 50s. Nationally, COVID hospitalizations are rising. A new booster vaccine that targets the current variants of the disease is expected to be available in late September or October. This has been Maine Public News Connect. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you to our excellent community partners for supporting and contributing to this program. We are happy to collaborate on this project with the monthly multimedia publication Amjambo Africa, our official media partner. Maine Public News Connect has been made possible by individual supporters and foundations from across Maine, as well as Koo and Patricia Yuen, cPort Credit Union, Hannaford Supermarkets, MaineHousing, and IDEXX. Maine Public News Connect is made possible by Koo and Patricia Yuen, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities.
Juntos. Ensemble.
Warajir.
Junto.
cPort Credit Union. Together.
Hannaford Supermarkets, celebrating the diversity of its employees, customers, and communities, and committed to fostering a welcoming environment. Together, they're greater than groceries. Learn more at hannaford.com.
Has paying your mortgage been a struggle since COVID-19? The Maine Homeowner Assistance Fund could help. You may be eligible for up to $50,000 in aid. Apply today at MaineHomeownerHelp.org.